Okay, here we go with practicing of repulsing of the monkey. Let's start with commencing form. Good Tai Chi posture, okay? So you're growing taller through your spine, but at the same time, you're dropping the shoulders. So raise your shoulders up and your spine is straight, but your butt is kind of sticking out. So that's not Tai Chi posture. So what do we do to correct it? Drop the shoulders first, relax the knee, the butt comes under. The spine remains soft but straight. The head is as if it were a marionette dangling from a silk thread through the middle of your skull. The head is heavy, but it remains straight as if it were dangling, so the rest of your body is doing the work, but the head remains erect, the chin slightly down. Commencing form. We're at 50-50, shift weight to the right, 60, 70, 80, allowing our left heel to come up, 90 on our toe, open, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 50-50. Hands rotate to the middle of the thighs. Take a deep breath in as we elevate, using our core to elevate. At shoulder level, using our core, flexing our knees, tucking our elbows, push down that water. Left hand remains in the middle. Right hand rises up higher as you glance. Open the palms to the ceiling. Bring the back hand to the ear. Turn your head and neck. Meet the hands in the middle. As you push forward, pull back, making sure the left hand is sitting closer to the hip. Center the right hand, left hand higher. Open the palms to the ceiling. Bring the back hand to the ear. Turn your head and neck. Keep the hands in the middle, slide forward, push back. Repulsing of the monkey. Center, higher, glance, ear, turn, meet, slide to the hips. Center, higher, glance, open, ear, turn, meet, slide to the hips. Center, higher, glance, ear, turn, meet, slide to the hips. Center, higher, glance, ear, turn, meet, slide forward, slide backwards to the hips. Last set. Center, higher, glance, ear, turn, meet, slide forward, slide back. Last one. Ear, turn, meet, slide. T-stamps together. What are we doing? Brush knee. Ear, hand, heel, turn the hips and waist. Brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot. Left hand higher, right hand to your shoulder, T. All together, L. Brush knee. New movement, sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball. In sequence, we part the wild horse's mane. Out and to the side, L, bow the legs, turn the hips and waist. Part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, drill down, T. This is a drill out and to the side. Part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball, make sure the shoulders are dropped, storing that energy. Step out on an L, bow the legs, turn the hips and waist. Part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, T, stance, L, stance, bow stance. Listen carefully, cloud hands. We're in a bow stance. Flip the forward hand, join it with the back hand. We're at 3 o'clock. We want to get out to 9 o'clock. This is how we do it. Bow stance. Sit back, sit down. Pivot that insubstantial foot. We have a stem and a cup at 12. We want to get out to 9. We use our left heel to pivot out Turn the hips and waist, 9 o'clock. 2 things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. Shoulders down, 3 o'clock, flip hands. 2 things happen, open the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 9 o'clock, only 1 thing happens because we need to go to the other side. 12 o'clock, stem cup. Use your hips and waist to get to 3. 2 things happen. Flip and close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. 3 o'clock, 1 thing happens, and we turn ourselves into a what? Golden cockerel, okay? Drilling now again on cloud hands. How to get in and out of cloud hands. When we get into cloud hands, we are doing the last parting of the wild horse's mane. How do you do that? You're going to the right, okay? Holding your ball, right foot insubstantial, ready to go. Right hand on the bottom because the bottom hand advances all the time. It could advance forward, it could advance upward, but it advances, okay? So we're holding our ball, root down on the left, T stance. We're going to part the wild horse's mane the final time. Take an L, bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. This is the transition to get into cloud hand. Keep your bow stance. Flip the forward hand so you no longer see the palm. Join it with the back hand where you can see the palm. This is 3 o'clock, beginning of cloud hands. We're in a bow stance. We need to what? Sit back, sit down. That's the pattern. We need to pivot on our insubstantial, turn our right hand into a cup. So the left hand is the stem, the right hand is the cup at 12 o'clock. Our job is to get out to 9. Let's think it through. We pivot on our left heel, and there we have 9. But 2 things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. Use your hips and waist to turn to the middle extremities. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. But 9 o'clock this time, only flip the hands because we want to change the orientation of our movement to the right. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. 3 o'clock, 1 thing happens because we need to get out of cloud hands. 12 o'clock is sort of a stem in a cup, but we change our form to a golden cockerel, okay? All right, one more time going into the transition of cloud hands, okay? So what did we remember? To get into cloud hands, we have to be doing the last parting of the wild horse's mane to the right. So if we have to go right, our right foot has to be insubstantial, our right hand has to be on the bottom. Therefore, the left hand on the top. Therefore, the left foot should store our energy. T stance, out and to the side, L, bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. The hips and waist are fully turned to the right foot, so they're squared with your right foot. You flip the forward hand so you no longer see the palm. The back hand, you join it and you can see the palm. You remain in a bow stance. From a bow stance, you sit back and you sit down. Your twist step would take you to 12 o'clock by merely turning and your right hand to hold your cup 2 inches below your navel. You want to get out to 9, so you use your left heel to pivot. 9 o'clock is there, but 2 things happen. You flip your hands, you close your feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands first, open the feet. But 9 o'clock, you only do 1 thing because you want to change the direction. At 3 o'clock, you flip the hands, you close the feet. Here comes 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip and open. That's the end of cloud hands. So at 3 o'clock, we only flip the hands. Don't do anything with your feet, but shift your weight to the left and come up as a golden cockerel. Push down, pull up. The other side, shift weight, push down, pull up, down. 50-50, shift weight to the left. Right hand, right foot coming up, kick out right. Shift weight to the right, left, left, up and out. New movement, holding your ball on a T-step, we're going to ward off our opponent. Out and to the side, L stance, bottom hand advances to forearm your opponent. Bow stance. Turn the hips and waist, reposition your hands to bring down or grasp the bird's tail as you sit down on that stool. Turn at the hips and waist to look back. Contact, turn again and push the energy through to the front of your body, center of your body, roll back and sit down. Spiral up and lunge forward. Other side, twist step, T stance. Ward off, L stance, bottom hand advances to push out your opponent. Turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands, grasp the bird's tail. Contact at your wrists, turn at your hips and waist, push the energy through. Separate the hands and roll back and sit down. Spiral up and lunge forward. Here's a drill. Twist step, T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn the hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push the energy through, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T stance, L stance, bottom hand wards off or forearms your opponent. Turn the hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Bring it down closer to you. Contact, turn again, push the energy out. Separate and roll back and sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, push from the middle. Separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step. Left hand on the bottom, left foot ready to go, holding your ball. Out on an L. Bottom hand, left hand wards off your opponent. Bow stance. Turn hips and waist, reposition hands, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn at the hips and waist, push the energy. Separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance. Hold your ball. L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step, left hand on the bottom, T stance. Out on an L, bottom hand advances to forearm, just the back foot, turn the hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push the energy through, separate the energy, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance. L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, center, push the energy through. Retract, sit down. Up, forward, twist, step. T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, push. Separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down. Twist step. Okay, after you hold your ball, you watch me, okay? Hold your ball, pause and rest. Your turn to watch. This is what you try to do. T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, push. Separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, middle of the body, push. Separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. So this time I'm going to do it. You're still continuing to watch, trying to get pointers, and this is how I'm going to help you with the pointers. You step out on an L, bottom hand advances and moves that energy through your body, through the chest, through the forearm. You're in a bow stance. Turn hips and waist, reposition hands. Reposition hands, they're staggered and they have the grasp of the tail. How do you get back? You sit back and sit down. You sit back and sit down. Turn at the hips and waist. Contact, turn at the hips and waist. I never move my hands. My hands are connected to my body. The body helps me to move my hands. So the hands are strictly out at a point where the energy finally gets there, but they do not move by moving themselves alone. My core is at work. My mind is active. Therefore, it looks as if Tai Chi, there's something totally different about it. I always use the word mystical, but maybe I'm using it wrong. But it's sort of magical because the power and the energy comes through my core to advance that hand. And I turn my hips and waist and I grasp the bird's tail. Can you imagine this is a gentle meditative motion, but at the same time, hidden in there are strong martial arts intention with the muscles. They're engaged, okay? So can you extrapolate to say that if done at the utmost excellence, that you will then gain stronger core, good muscle toning, and maintain an active mind. So this is what I want to do. I want you to do it with a little bit more definition, a little bit more motivation, okay? T stance. Here we go. Root down, because if you don't root down, there's no energy to expend. T stance, L stance, ward off. Keep your spine straight, keep your Tai Chi posture. Turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands. Pull down by sitting down on that stool, turning at the hips and waist. Contact, turning at the hips and waist, letting the energy flow from the core through the tips, rolling back and sitting down, coming up, and then lunging forward. All of this is your own energy. So if you have to use your own energy, you must store the energy. Where? In that right or back foot in this position. Step out on an L, turn the hips and waist, energy flows through your core to ward off. Think through as you turn your hips and waist, reposition your hand to sit down. Turn at the hips and waist. Contact, turn at the hips and waist, push through. Separate, roll back, sit down. It's the power of the mind driving the core and the hips and waist that are directing your movements. T stance, L stance. Move that energy through your core, through the arm. Turn the hips and waist. Grasp the bird still. Sit down, sit back. Contact, turn, push. Separate, roll back. Sit down. Drops you down, pushes you forward and out. Twist, step. T stance. L stance. Move the energy through your core, out through the forearm. Turn, reposition, sit down. Turn at the hips and waist. Contact, turn at the hips and waist, push out. Separate, roll back, sit down. Using that energy that's stored when you sit down to come up and out. Twist, step. T stance. L stance, forearm, turn hips and waist, grasp the bird still. Sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist. Contact, turn again, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward, twist, sit back, sit down, twist, T, L, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, push the energy through, separate the energy, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward, twist step, T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Sit down, sit back, look back. Contact, turn, push, separate, roll back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Okay, this time we're going to close. I know you're getting tired, but I think the drill is good. Sit down, sit back, up, forward. Okay, how do we close? You're in a bow stance, you push the guy out. Sit back, sit down. Twist hip. Open twist. In twist. Embrace the tiger, right hand on the inside. Shift the weight over. Rotate your hands. Palms are facing your chest. Bring the tiger closer. Push him out. Separate the energy. What do? Drop the shoulders, tuck the elbows, flex the knees. Gravity takes you all back home. Okay, getting better at it. Left foot forward, right foot on 45. You just pushed out the opponent. We're going to close, but apparently first, okay? Sit back, sit down, twist on the left, open pivot on the right, in pivot on the right, hands mimic. Shift the weight up, cross the hands so that the right hand is inside the cross. Shift the weight over, rotate on the wrist so that the palms are now facing your chest. Push the tiger closer. To get that energy to push him out, separate the hands, drop the shoulders, tuck the elbows, flex the knees, as you now let gravity take you back home. Okay, one more time. So when we close, it's always on the left, okay? Left foot forward, Right foot 45 degrees, and you just got through pushing your opponent out. Sit back, sit down, pivot, pivot, pivot in, embrace the tiger, right hand on the inside, move that foot over, rotate on your wrist so that the palms are now facing you. Right hand is still on the outside. Push out. Separate the hands. Drop the shoulders. Wrap around, up heel, off ground, toe, arch heel.